Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Napoleon Total, and we're back with another Dutch campaign for our Shogun 2, Scramble for the Far East. So yeah, last episode I think I left off saying that I couldn't do a lot of siege battles in this episode, and that is essentially true. The reason is because the Dutch don't have a lot for them siege battles. Thanks to the update, I essentially lost any chance to get any field artillery in terms of mortars. So essentially we can't do anything in terms of getting artillery pieces, at least not during the auto-resolve, so we're kind of somewhat not in a good shape for doing siege battles. The Dutch also don't have a lot of artillery pieces that are really useful, so that's going to be bad. And what artillery pieces they do have is essentially even useless against troops. So yeah, what the Dutch do have in terms of superiority is, well, one of their things is their navy. At least I'm producing a lot more ships than my enemies can. The Dutch have a European navy, and that's going to be working wonders against a traditional fleet, like we see in here. We have 4 ships against the enemy. I forgot how many, but it's more than what we have, like 6 or 7. And what you see me do is I'm forming them up in 2 rows. Each row goes one direction, one right and one left. Obviously the right one goes right, the left one goes left. And eventually I decide to turn the right one to right one left. But what ends up happening is the enemy entire fleet just straight outright just decides to charge at me, which is what they've essentially been doing for essentially all of eternity. You can see some of my ships are getting ready to open fire. And it's not pretty what ends up happening. Once again, the enemy have a lot more ships, a lot more than I do. But when the firing starts, it doesn't really quite matter how many ships you have. It really comes out to what better technology you have. But in terms of land battles, I'm not that good. Because considering the fact that if the enemy decides to charge me, I'm in a very sticky situation. A very bad situation to be exact. But on sea, as long as the enemy don't deploy Western ships, I'm good. Obviously I can defeat enemy Western ships, it's just going to take time. And casualties. Something I don't really have. But one ship is already struck with fire, and that's going to start burning. Our guys are just going to continue to run around the ocean and start opening fire. And setting fires, of course. I'm actually not targeting their capital ships. The bunes are essentially the big ships. But I'm targeting the smaller ships, and the reason why is because well, the smaller ships are faster, and if they do get into melee, we're somewhat in a bad shape. But yeah, another fire has actually no. This is the exact same fire, but yeah, a few ships are really starting to get lit with fires. And it's just straight outright not looking good. Unfortunately for me, well, fortunately and unfortunately for me, actually no, fortunately, some of our guns are overkilling, and this ship has decided to has set on fire because some of our canister shot hit the enemy ship and it's going to burn. And for those that are just watching and wondering, well, how the heck am I able to do this so quick, so fast? It's literally because I'm using a type of round called canister shot, and it's available for every European ship. And we're just going to be using that against the traditional fleet right here, traditional Japanese fleet we see right here, and we're just going to destroy them. It's not looking good. As a matter of fact, most of your ships are on fire, and yeah. As we can see right here, from a high up position, the enemy fleet is mostly burning, and you just saw me opening fire another canister round against a full broadside against the enemy ship. That's going to instantly set it on fire, and most of the crew are going to jump ship, meaning get the hell out, essentially. But we're just going to finish the rest of the fleet off and wait for the battle to say, oh, you won the decisive victory, essentially. But we essentially lost no ships. We captured 2, and so that's going to be pretty good for us. yeah, that's pretty good. But like I've been saying, the Dutch are not really good on land. They don't really have a lot of artillery pieces that are like mortars. They mostly have field guns, and their biggest gun is a 12-pounder, which is good. But except for that 12-pounder is a 12-pounder field gun, which means it really can't be used against cities and castles. Mortars, howitzers are really good for taking out castles, but we sadly don't have them. The Dutch straight outright don't have them, so that's going to be a problem that I really can't fix, because that's up to the developers. But yeah, the Dutch in terms of artillery are weak. The Dutch in terms of the army, in terms of gun units, are also weak. We as the Dutch really don't have a lot of essentially guns that can, how do I put it in a nice way, do a lot of damage, and that's simply because our guns are smoothbore muskets, whereas other European factions like the British, the French, and the Prussians have either needle rifles or straight outright musket rifles. So they're just gonna outshoot us pretty much most of the time. Thankfully, we're fighting against mostly traditional samurai wielding, essentially, these people. So we're just gonna do slightly better. We're actually gonna do slightly good against them. But considering the fact that the time that it takes for the enemy to charge us, how many kills we get on as they charge us is really important, so we're actually not that good in that situation. That said, we do have one of the better infantry units of Dutch East Indies. They're 200 man each in terms of ultra unit size, and we can essentially produce them in every single province that we can own with a cadet school. So we're in advantage in terms of that. And from what I know, the East Indies infantry, their stats are pretty much exact same to, I don't know, our line infantry. So we're essentially getting a colonial type unit that can be produced anywhere with almost the exact same stats. Actually, no, the exact same stats as our Dutch infantry. But now we have the steam boats out, and that's going to just negate the enemy's use of essentially the wind, which has been a big factor in how the enemy is able to survive so long. But now we have these steamships that can be extremely useful in just going as far as we want, as fast as as far as we want. But now I'm just going to order the building of more steamships, and I have to delete these ships because these ships are essentially now outdated. So yeah, we have to delete them quick, and we have to get steamships pumping out. In terms of, I've talked about me preparing for the invasion of Korea, and, well, we're gonna island hop first, and then we're gonna go to Korea. But, as of right now, our army is still essentially massing up and getting replenishment for my faction leader. And, in terms of on the east, in Bingo, we're actually gonna be assaulting. The enemy has a pretty sticky situation, but, I'm actually gonna have split my armies and fight this one. This army, although it looks massive, well, we're actually going to fight it first. I decide to attack the enemy, of course, and you can see here that yeah, we win. But what ends up happening is the enemy essentially decides to charge us, and we just gun them down en masse. And yeah, obviously I didn't think that was worth it to show, considering what they did was essentially what happened in the last few battles, in which they just attacked and we just gunned them down. Literally, that's how it went. But yeah, that's that. But we are just getting a few more troops to essentially some of my newly defected generals, essentially from the Japanese factions. We're just gonna get a lot more troops. We do have another rebellion in Aki, apparently. I'm trying to get troops to essentially move to Aki, so we can actually defend Aki against a rebel army, which is actually quite massive. And after a second look, no, it's not only quite massive, they also have a lot of good units of guns and spear troops, like Yarikachi and whatnot. So it's actually quite scary. But in terms of here, I'm trying to recruit essentially more troops, Dutch troops, of course, and why not? It's just a matter of time before we kickstart our invasion of Korea. And I think at this point, time is what we really need, because as we grow bigger, so are the other European factions, and at this point, it's a game of essentially what European faction can grow the fastest, and what European faction is most powerful at the turn of the century, essentially. But Bingo is pretty much done for, and now we're still sieging Izumo, but yeah. Obviously, I'm not going to order the attack directly because sieges for the Dutch are not a good thing. I'll have to say some of the best sieging factions in terms of Europeans is the United Kingdom off the bat. Is United Kingdom, France, Prussia, United States, I would say, but the United States doesn't really have any good melee infantry, like Grenadiers and something like Coldstream Guards, Grenadiers. The Prussians have a very good unit called the Life Guards. They also have howitzers. The British have a very good unit called Rocket, and that's just gonna destroy and light buildings on fire. And the French, because all European factions have mortars and howitzers, but the French have good looks. The French have good looks. Yeah, I've been saying 100 times by now. If good looks win you battles, then I think a lot of people would have won their battles. Some examples: the French at Waterloo. Yeah, stuff like that. But yeah. But the enemy rebel army is going to attack me at Aki, and the enemy army once again is a pretty good mix of gun infantry, which are quite bad, levy infantry, which are once again even worse than militia, and there is some saber and revolver cavalry. Now, obviously, I don't know if revolver cavalry is the exact same as I don't know, their counterparts in Shogun 2, Fall of the Samurai. But in Scrabble with Far East, I thought every unit was tweaked, so I didn't really pay attention to revolver cavalry. And since revolver cavalry is revolver cavalry, I'm gonna play it safe by at first. I'm not gonna attack them head on. Obviously, I'm just gonna let them come into my city and slowly gun them down. The first thing off the bat that you see here is that I have a lot of towers, way more towers than I expected to see. That is why when I actually attacked Aki, I didn't decide to order an assault, because that's going to be essentially committing suicide. We also have some mortars to essentially hit the enemy. The enemy army is essentially quite big, but that said, most of their numbers literally come in the fact that they have very bad units, such as these levies and militia. Once again, I've been complaining all along this essentially campaign, and why the heck are these militia getting Imperial Guard Japanese cavalry uniforms? I think, but they look like Imperial Japanese. They look like the Imperial Guard uniforms for the Japanese cavalry, but just from their looks. But I think that's the Imperial Japanese Guard cavalry. But anyway, why are these militia wearing such a good fancy uniform? That said, that was on that side. On this side, the enemy is actually actively scaling the walls, and we're actually having to send in my spearmen, spear levies, to hold the enemy back. This is actually dismounted katana, actually dismounted saber cavalry, so we're actually going to be doing somewhat well, considering we have a lot more numbers. And yeah. But yeah, as time goes on, the enemy is going to send up their revolver cavalry. And eventually you can see what happens to our guys after revolver cavalry gets up. At first I thought the revolver cavalry is probably nerfed, because most units are nerfed. But as you can see here in a few seconds, that nerfed just turns into nothing. These guys are going to be acting like cowboys and just point their guns. And I said guns, not gun. At our guys are just going to scare them away. Literally, an entire unit just ran away after the second they start firing. But the enemy on this side is going to scale the walls once again. Thankfully, I did put some guys on the walls. This is actually my Dutch units, my these infantry, to shoot at these guys. And they're, as a matter of fact, my best infantry that I can get to Aki as of right now. But the enemy is attacking again after all their failed attempts. This time is on the other side of the wall, this little essentially corridor, which I nicknamed the Corridor of Death because I have matchlock towers, I have guns, I have everything bristling in this one area. We finally did retake that arrow tower that the revolver cavalry took, which they, for those who didn't know, which I think I didn't tell you anyone, but the enemy revolver cavalry decided to take a tower, and they actually took it, which is this tower. But I decided to take it back after I just essentially gunned down the revolver cavalry from afar, dismounted of course, and we're just gonna retake the tower, and we have actually won. We've defended Aki, so this is our second time dealing with a rebellion. The rebellion in Aki, essentially. And so we're just gonna deal with that. But in terms of bingo, we're just gonna order the attack. We have to destroy this army, but now we have two armies fighting against this one small army, which is gonna auto-resolve. This army is essentially not gonna stand a chance. And we won. Our general has leveled up, and this is Daniel who's leveled up. So that's good. That's pretty good. First thing off the bat, logistics and defender, because one logistics gives you 5% replenishment, which is really needed, and the other thing is essentially I just have to straight outright get night battles. Right here, we're doing recruitment of East Indies infantry. Once again, that is no surprise. We have to get our armies to this guy, Do. That's his name in Izumo. We have our son with, holding back essentially entire enemy army in Izumo. And once again, I'm preparing for the invasion of Korea with two armies, one slowly but surely building in Nagasaki, and the other one straight outright building. It's my faction leader, whose army is essentially preparing to board ships, and they're ready to go. But before I do that, I have to take Goto Island. I'm just going to essentially do an island hopping campaign. After I take Goto Island, I do need to take another few islands, and that is to ensure my supply routes and ensure a few more cities / provinces come to me. But yes, Goto Island and another island, and then we're just going to be storming into Korea. In Bungo, we're actually going to be attacking the port, and since there's nothing else to do, I'm going to end the turn. But, yeah. A lot of stuff is going on for me, for the Dutch. And hopefully, I don't have to deal with the European powers, and the less I have to deal with the European powers, the more I can grow. But I know the Americans and the British we're almost about to meet them. It's going to be like a chain effect. The second I meet the British, I'm going to meet the Americans, and then the second I meet the Americans, I'm going to meet the Prussians, and then when I meet the Prussians, the French are the least likely of the European factions to meet, unless you're the Qing. If you're the Qing, you're starting at war with the French. But that said, the funny thing is, nothing really happens. In Aki, the enemy attackers decide to attack again, and we absolutely just destroy the enemy army. We lost no one, which is more fair, and we destroy the entire enemy rebel army. First thing I have to do is to make sure Aki does not get mounting up rest, and that means I do have to put troops in Aki. But repair this stuff, build more armies, and I do actually have a few more units that I can move to Aki to maintain public order. But yeah, just creating a few more units. Should I get this to city? I think I should. No, I shouldn't. Although a fortress would look pretty good. But this army is slowly but surely moving to Izumo to join Do. He was one of the generals who we captured. On this side, I think we can actually assault this place now. But we have to destroy this small army, which just ran away. But we're gonna chase, or we can attack Bingo directly. We're actually gonna do that. Also, although it does say that we do have a pretty bad chance, we're gonna take a few casualties. But the auto resolve is quite wonky these days. But it also could be because the enemy have a fortress, and we literally have no artillery pieces that can take out a fortress. So that's gonna be unfortunate. In terms of Nagasaki, we're still raising troops. And we're gonna go to Goto Island first. We're gonna check that out, and we're just gonna move up to Korea. But guess the only thing we can do as of right now is wait for more troops to come, terms to end, and if we are lucky, the defending army in Bingo sallies out. Which if I were the enemy, I would not. We finally do see some of the United States. They have ships. Yeah, ships. Considering the fact that they have ships in that strait, it's kind of scary now. Because that really implies that either the enemy army is massive, or straight outright either the enemy army is big. But we are gonna be fighting, having to deal with this enemy army that decides to attack us. And so yeah, that is a threat. Thankfully for this army, my son Eugene, who's commander-in-chief of this army, and armies essentially, we do have a lot of Dutch line infantry. That said, they're quite similar to the East Indies infantry in terms of stats, so you're not going to see a lot of major improvement from the East Indies infantry. That said, we do have some light Jaegers. Now we can deploy some Luxembourg Jaegers, and we do have some Limburg infantry, some Luxembourg infantry, and we do have a lot of grenadiers in this army, so that's going to be useful, essentially for what you see later on. I'm going to be 100% honest. In this battle, this was essentially the only battle in which the enemy really stood a chance of destroying me, and they really used that to their advantage. The enemy army is really made up of a rush army. A lot of katanas, a lot of bows, and a lot of katana samurai, and a lot of cavalry. Although that cavalry force is not really good. They don't have a lot of cavalry, they just have a lot of rushing melee infantry. And as you can see right now, a lot of katana swordsmen. That is really, really scary. They don't have any Ashigari type units, so that's already scary enough, but they have mostly samurai troops. So they're actually going to rush us, and there's not really a lot of stuff I can do to stop their charge. I can do suppressing fire, but it's only a matter of time. The first engagement of the battle is on the left flank, where I have my grenadiers. The enemy cavalry decides to, essentially, I don't know what they're doing, but they haven't charged us. They haven't attacked us. We're going to form square just in case the enemy cavalry charges us. But you can see these bows just raining fire on us. Yeah, some of our guys are getting hit, and there's nothing much I can do considering the fact that we don't have any protection in terms of armor against bows. You can see finally this cavalry decides to charge us. Considering the fact that how close they were, they're actually quite doing a lot of push damage. But fortunately for us, a lot of our guys are going to get back up, and since we are grenadiers, we're going to do quite a lot of damage in melee against this cavalry force. But this cavalry has just bought enough time for the enemy infantry to charge us. On the right flank, the exact same thing is happening. The enemy cavalry is straight outright charging us, and our Limburg infantry, who did not form square, has to deal with this enemy cavalry in melee, and they're not doing so well. You can see the amount of casualties that we already have been taken. But eventually we were able to win, but now, unfortunately for us, the enemy katana cavalry has caught us, katana samurai have caught us in melee. This is actually not that good because the katana samurai are way better in melee than our guys. So we are quite terrible position. In the center, the exact same thing is going on, just this time with just a massive wave of katana samurai. There is nothing we can do to essentially stop them. There is nothing we can do to hold them back. We do have some grenadiers that are actually faring a lot better than my Luxembourg infantry on their right. But with the hail of arrows that you see just flying past us, we are slightly losing. And once again, like I said in the beginning of this battle, this is one of the only battles in which the enemy can defeat us. And they are really doing quite well, considering the fact that they're AI. To make it worse, one of the enemy generals have decided to come on our flank and charge this grenadier unit. Fortunately for my guys, most of my dudes come back up, although he did kill quite a few on the charge. But considering the fact that they're being pinned from the front, they're being attacked from the flank, this grenadier unit is actually doing quite well. On the backside, our generals are busy taking out the enemy artillery. As you can see, we have destroyed 3 artillery pieces, and we're just going to be using the general to harass the bows for now on. In terms of on the right flank, we finally destroyed a katana unit by literally just holding our ground and having some of our units flank around. We're actually going to be pulling this unit away from the front lines. We're actually going to run away from the front lines, as a matter of fact, because we cannot deal with katana-wielding samurai. We're absolutely going to lose against them. So what I've decided to do is pull back and have my guys just shoot them to death while they come and try to attack us. As you can see what we're doing right now. Behind enemy lines, I do have some dragoons just playing torment against some katana samurai that have decided to chase the dragoons. At this point, my dragoons are just trying to lure away enemy forces from the front lines, because the front lines, the situation is not going well for me. As a matter of fact, after destroying the katana samurai unit, we're actually just outright trying to silence these bows, which are doing quite a lot of damage. We're going to charge them, but to my surprise, these bows are not going to break, unlike most archer units. It could be because I don't have a lot of dragoons, but these dragoons are not doing so well on the charge. But that's it. I'm just doing cycle charges. I'm just trying to get this unit to stop firing at my men, and I'm just trying to get this unit to chase my cavalry, which they are doing. In the center, I've decided to pull back, but now this is my final last stand, and we are withdrawing. At this point, the enemy is tired, so are we. But thankfully for us, we do have guns, and that's going to cause morale damage on the enemy. I'm going to keep pulling back until I get to my Jaegers, and my Jaegers are just going to... My Jaegers, during this entire battle, is the most fresh unit, because my Jaegers are the only ones that I haven't actively thrown into melee, and they're pretty good at shooting, so we're actually just going to use them to fire against some samurai that are charging at us. Behind them, I do have our grenadiers to open fire, but at this end of this battle, we've lost a lot more than we should have, and the enemy has done a lot more damage than they should have. But what has happened, and we are here to essentially see the results. Finally, on the right flank, the enemy has decided to stop massing infantry against us, and they're starting to send their bow samurai. I decided that, yeah, the more you shoot at us, you don't have any katana samurai to support you, so I'm just straight outright going to order a bayonet charge at these guys. And we're actually able to rout these guys on the charge. And at this point, we won a very Pyrrhic victory. But, yeah, I actually sent my cavalry, what's left of it, to charge at the enemy and kill as many as they can, because we've taken some atrocious losses. We've lost 1,000, 1,500, and the enemy lost 2,500, around 2,400. So, in terms of shape, our guys are doing quite bad, but the enemy did worse. But in terms of how many casualties they inflicted, they did quite well. But as of right now, I'm just going to auto-resolve the siege of Bingo. And the enemy decided to sally out, which is, well, they're just going to get destroyed. In this battle, we've lost 1 East Indies infantry, which is, well, to be honest, worth it. Obviously, I would rather prefer that I didn't lose a single unit, but yeah, we end up losing a unit, but we can easily replenish that unit. It's not like a Dragoon unit or a Lancer unit, which we do have to get a long time to move a lot of units to that one place, and then we can finally just get that army in. Because we've took 2 provinces, we are now at a military breakthrough, so that's good. First thing off the bat at Bingo is to make sure everyone's happy, and the first thing I have to do that is upgrade, destroy a lot of stuff. Cadet School, I can instantly replace my East Indies infantry. I do have to essentially eventually destroy the artillery place, but yeah. Right here, we are just gonna join up with our dudes. I'm actually gonna attack Izumo right now because we don't have that many troops. We're gonna continue the siege. We're gonna have this army swing around to attack this army right here. This army is gonna run away, which is good for us. And now we're just gonna be attacking Izumo. It's gonna be extremely easily auto-resolvable, and hopefully we don't take any casualties, which is yeah, really important. This army has lost a lot, around half its number, or half its number or so much. But yeah, I'm actually gonna give this army to Samoria. But that said, this is pretty much for this episode, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Now, before you leave, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I would be honored if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, more videos are coming out, so it is a good idea to click on that notification button. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.